Greetings, friends! This video considers how to make fog feel realistic in Dungeons & Dragons, and with implications for other games and creative works. I like the existing rules about fog in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. In this video, I will share my ideas about adding just a little bit of nuance to make the rules more realistic, hopefully without creating anything too cumbersome. Foggy or misty environments are classic for creating a mysterious ambiance. Most of us would like to include fog, mist, or haze in our games, artworks, and stories. In terms of game mechanics in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, fog can create obscurement that is either lightly obscured or heavily obscured. A lightly obscured space creates a disadvantage on perception checks that rely on sight. A heavily obscured space blocks vision entirely, and it imposes the blinded condition unless a creature can apply tremor sense, blind sense, or another way of perceiving through the fog. A dungeon master quickly can decide if the thickness of a fog can be categorized as not obscured, lightly obscured, or heavily obscured. In real life, usually people can see for at least a short distance through a fog, and then the degrees of obscurement will happen only at a distance. In many cases, vision is normal for a short distance, and then it becomes lightly obscured at another distance before entering into the range of being heavily obscured. I considered how to describe fog in terms of the range of the three visibility categories of normal, lightly obscured, and heavily obscured. A low-density fog might allow normal visibility out to 1 mile, lightly obscured vision for another 1 mile, and then heavily obscured condition beyond this distance. Depending on the variable degrees of density of the fog, you can adjust the distance ranges of these three categories. I created a simple table showing a few possibilities of fog with the distances of normal, lightly obscured, and heavily obscured vision. I use this table as a quick guide, and often I decide to adjust these specific details according to whatever makes sense in a situation. The lightest instances of fog probably will create little or no effect in many game settings, except for the cases of exploring outdoors in the wilderness and perceiving the environment across long distances. In my games, these aspects could occur often because I happen to like working with the natural world and wilderness survival. You may have noticed that the three categories of fog visibility as normal, lightly obscured, and heavily obscured are parallel to the three categories of light in Dungeons & Dragons as bright light, dim light, and darkness. I should clarify that the conditions of light and fog operate independently of each other. Using torchlight or dark vision will make no difference with fog. Another issue is about the height of a fog. Typically, fog will form up to a certain absolute height, such as a height above sea level. This aspect can be important when considering places with change in the terrain elevation or the placement of tall buildings. I did not develop a rules mechanic about this part. Instead, I encourage to consider how high a particular fog bank might reach depending on the circumstances. I hope that I have offered something useful for enhancing your game mechanics and your creative descriptions about fog, not only in Dungeons & Dragons but also more generally. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.